Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co.
Hi, I'm Rena.
And today we're reviewing
Hadrian's Wall.
Hadrian's Wall from Garphill Games and Renegade, I believe.
Renegade, it says it there.
I think it's a Garphill game. Renegade's involved in distribution or something. I don't know. Either way, this is Hadrian's Wall, which is otherwise known as the most ridiculous of all roll and writes or flip and writes that you've ever seen. This over here is the game. There's a lot of boxes there. We'd play it before reviewing it, except then you wouldn't be able to see anything because the boxes are tiny because of how many boxes there are. Also, I'm realizing I've done the wrong order.
We're going
to swap those around so we can actually see things properly.
That's better.
There we go. This is the way we've been playing the whole time.
That's
see?
better.
Much better, much better. So, Hadrian's Wall, like I said already, is a flip and write. Basically, it's going to take place across 6 rounds, and what you're going to do every single turn is you're going to start by revealing one of these, which is going to dictate the resources players get. So we're going to go ahead and give you some of these, one of those, we'll give you a purple, we'll give you 2 yellows, and we'll give you 2 stone. Now, this can be played solo as well. We'll get to that shortly. But then, from there, players will draw 2 cards and go ahead and choose one for yourself and slot the other. They're going to choose 2 cards. One card is going to give you a resource, so in this case, or possibly multiple resources. And then the other card is going to give you a potential scoring opportunity. So in this case, Serena's going to go ahead and take another black worker over there, and then she's going to slot the other card down there. This card stays in play, available for other players to potentially utilize both the polyomino shape as well as the good. We'll get into some of those things, not everything. We will not be going into every aspect of this game. But from there, lastly, we're going to look at our production tracks. There's a whole section of production that you can get on the roll and write. You start with 1 circle popped in, so you're going to get 1 more stone as well, and these are the starting resources that we have. But then, from there, the fun begins. You're going to start by starting to spend things to get things, and spend things to get things, and spend things to get things. That's the whole game. Where you look at the cost of any individual track, and we're not going to go through every single thing. I'll do a high-level overview shortly. But the general idea is you look at the cost to fill in a track. So, for example, over here it would cost a blue or a black meeple in order to slowly fill in this track. But as you fill in the track, whenever you see a reward in that track, you get that reward. Which means, effectively, this small pile of resources starts off like that, and then as you fill things in, it grows and grows and grows. Or more specifically, it shrinks, but you go down a bit, you go up, you go down a bit, you go up, and you keep trying to escalate, trying to gather the resources you need so you can keep filling in the next thing, so you can check off the next box, get the next reward, fulfill the next objective that you're trying to accomplish. To that end, let's go through a very general overview of the various tracks. But before we do, it's worth noting that every round, at the end of the round, the Picts are going to attack. You're going to go ahead, for example, let's say it's round 1, we're going to flip 1 card at the end of the round, and depending on you can play easy, hard, medium, or hard. Round 1 has 1 card regardless. You're going to flip a card, and the Picts are attacking in the center lane, which means up here on this chart, we need to have filled in shields. The reason that's important is it drives some of the decisions, but understand that an attack is coming every single round, and as you get to the last round, you're going to be drawing between 8 and 12 cards, which is a whole lot of attacks, and you need that many shields filled out. Which brings us to this main section up here. These top 4 rows all have various costs on the sidebar. They're all going to give you some form of attack, of defense against the attacking, as well as moving up your discipline track down here. These 4 tracks are a big part of how you gain points in the game, arguably the main part, because every single track here is going to score you points for every single box that you check off. This top row over here is going to add to your resource production. Those are the resources you earn every single round. Down here, you're going to be starting to add more resource production, earning more people or more ticks on these various tracks over here. This over here is your infrastructure. You're going to be slowly increasing your infrastructure, which is essential to build a lot of other things. And then down here is where you're trying to fill in these rows from other areas in order to both get resources, because everything gives you stuff, as well as getting chunks of points, as well as potentially unlocking the ability to build monuments once you reach 15 on those 4 rows. Down to this entire other sheet of the game, we have the 5 citizen tracks. These are the places where you can start trading in your yellow meeples, primarily yellow meeples, in order to earn various rewards, and more specifically to unlock the options to earn each of these buildings. You'll see these buildings are color-coded. So for example, up here at the traders, as we move up these boxes at 3, 4, 6, and 9, we'll unlock different abilities over here, different buildings you can build, and then you'll have different ways of trading things in. So you have more ways of earning resources every round. You have more ways of earning points, getting a lot of points on your renown track over there as you trade in different resources, as you borrow other players' resources as well. Over here in the theater and gladiators, you're going to be able to use the theaters to put on performances once a year to get a bunch of symbols. The gladiators are a fun way of training your gladiators and then eventually sending them off to battle, and then either dying or winning, giving you some form of reward in either case, just different options. Then we have the small gardens and the large gardens and the temples are a way of generally increasing your renown in a bunch of these tracks over here as you go through it. as well as giving you some citizens, pulling citizens towards your city for the gardens you build. Your baths are going to give you an opportunity to overcome the shame of losing against the Picts. Every time you lose against the Picts, you're going to be filling in these boxes, which will lose you points, and this gives you an opportunity to win favor back in the baths. And then the courthouse, you can have the opportunity to trade in meeples for other meeples. The diplomats are a way of effectively negotiating with the Picts and sending out people, getting a little bit of valor as you go, but also being able to withstand some attacks as you circle off these options over here and trade them in, cross them out later. Then we have these scouts where you can start using the polyomino shapes to both earn resources as well as earning more valor for completed rows, and that is basically the fastest I can possibly do this without... Well, this is as fast as I can go while covering the main highlights. The basic idea, once again, of Hadrian's Wall is you fill in boxes in order to get more stuff, in order to fill in more boxes, in order to get more stuff, do so across 6 rounds as efficiently as possible, score up your points over here for these various tracks, score up your points for the cards that you slotted into these various tracks over here. You'll have 6 different ways of earning up to 3 points per card. That's a potential 18 more points, although if you get 18, you're doing phenomenally well. Expect closer between 8 and 12 points from those cards, depending on the various areas you filled. Lose points for your disdain, and that is your total score in Hadrian's Wall. Okay, I need a breath.
You need a breather? You okay there?
Yeah, I'm good.
Are you sure?
Yes. Okay. So, with that, let's talk about this game. So, I actually have a different format than the last time you've been there for a review. I just talk about other stuff specifically. I'll get to the what I liked, didn't like, we can see what's not liking shortly. But starting off with, let me just get 2 sections out of the way, and then we'll go into the what I like. Starting off with ease of play. Ease of play is just a general section category of things that...
Ease of learning or ease of play?
Ease of all those things.
Okay.
Ease of play includes learning, includes teaching, includes the time it takes to play, includes the table space, all the things that make this game more or less accessible. Learning the game from the rules is a lot, but also not a lot. If you dive... And this is true for teaching as well. Hadrian's Wall is a game that is a ton of stuff if your goal is to know everything before you begin. If your goal is just to get up and running, which I highly recommend, you can learn the game and start moving, and you can teach the game and encourage others to just move forward. Your first game inherently is a learning game, and you will finish your first game. For most players, you will finish your first game and still not fully understand what all of these sections do, and that's okay. You can't explore everything anyways, so there's no need to learn everything. Get players up and running, give them that dopamine rush of checking off a box to earn one more thing, to check off a box to earn one more thing, and they'll come back to the table next time. So the ease of play could be hard if your goal is to know everything and understand everything, or it could be easy if you just want to get up and running. Past that, game time comes in at roughly 30 to 60 minutes. It depends on how fast depends on how slow your slowest player is. Usually I am actually a faster player. In this game, I am one of the slower players. She's waiting. She's like, will you say that you're the slow player? Because you are. I am in this game.
You are.
And as far as table space, every player has these 2 sheets and this board, so it can add up pretty quickly at higher player counts. At lower player counts, not a lot. Once you get to 4 players, you're already talking about the table space of a large game, just because each player's individual area is pretty big. The good news is you can have a larger table because no one needs to really be touching anything except for their own stuff, so you don't have to interact with a common board. So this is what each player is going to be working with. From there we go to the player count. It's a 1 to 6 player game. I've played this at 1, 2, and 4 players so far. I've enjoyed it at all player counts. I believe Board Game Geek says it's best with 1, as a solo game. If you do play it as a solo game, I highly recommend downloading the solo campaign over on Board Game Geek. If I remember, I'll include a link in the description down below. But the solo campaign that gives you like objectives. Do this, earn this points while accomplishing these kinds of things. They give you specific reasons to dive back in again and again and pursue different ways of learning the game. For myself, while I have enjoyed it solo, I've just as much enjoyed it at 2 and 4. Not just as much, it's not true. I've enjoyed it more at 2 and 4 players because beating your score is nice. I like competing with other players and seeing how things go. And then interaction in the game is incredibly minimal. You have these cards that you'll be occasionally trading resources with other players. It's incidental interaction at best. There's not a lot of interaction past doing your own thing and trying to score more points. Which brings us to the stuff you're familiar with.
Which is?
What I like, don't like, and can see others not liking. And I'll let you start this off.
Oh, why?
What do you like about the game?
It's very pretty.
Is it? I mean, the general art, I guess. There's so many boxes.
And the fact that I just love roll and write. It's like my favorite game. So it's just more boxes. So that makes it inherently more fun, which makes it very pretty.
It's got a lot of boxes. It does have a lot of boxes.
I mean, I think we have more boxes in our attic right now, but yes.
Anything else as far as what you like?
I really like roll and writes a lot.
Yep.
I like flip and writes. I like roll and writes. I love the production that you check off one box, which leads to another box, which leads to another person, which leads to another box, which leads to more production, which leads to another spot, which it's just like this little...
It's a little thing. It's a
little
little
thing. It starts rolling. I also like that so far, the times that I've played it, I've tried different things to focus on.
Yep.
And I have already, for sure, one way that I really, really like and one that I really, really don't like. So I like that aspect of each time I have come to play this game, I have something new to try.
Yeah, because this is a game where you can't in any way come close to touching all the stuff you want to do. There's some things that are almost essential that you have to get some engine up and running, like production. You got to have some form of production going.
You have to have that top row and you have to have the...
Yeah, the shields. Well, so I'm actually curious. I want to try a game where I don't go to the shields at all.
Why on earth would you do that?
Because I want to try. I want to see what happens. I want to see what happens in a game in which I either go for disdain and try to balance it out with the baths, or focus more heavily on the diplomats to evade certain things. I think there has to be an interesting strategy. That's one of the things about this game. There's so many different pathways to explore. Like Mina said, it was my third game before I even touched the gladiators, because they were just... I think the gladiators are possibly the most complicated thing to explain, to the point that I start teaching the game now by telling people, I'm not going to teach you the gladiators. If you want to know, ask me and I'll tell you. And they're cool. They're very cool. But there's so many different pathways and you can't possibly explore them all. No. And like I said, like right now, I kind of want to try doing a pathway where I don't build out the defense at all and see whether that's achievable. Whether if I focus all my resources elsewhere, maybe I get points elsewhere that balance out the disdain I'm losing throughout the game.
I'm just like, okay, well, I guess you could take the black guys and put them all here.
Yes. You could. That's the thing. You go up that track quickly with the black people. You can also trade them in over here. You balance it out with the temple where you can trade in your extra people for points. It's a whole different engine. It's just a different conversation as far as what you're doing and why you're doing it.
Yeah, but that takes your discipline so much longer to go up. You wouldn't get a whole lot of points going.
That's fine. I'll go my discipline. I'll get points everywhere else. You're kind of tempted, aren't you?
No,
not really. That's my thing.
I really like the route that I have going.
Yeah, there's a lot of different pathways. It has that, like I said already, the little dopamine rush aspect of you check off a box, you check off another box. If you've ever played Ganshun Clever, where you check off one box and before you know it, it's like 3 minutes later and it's somehow still your turn.
Yep.
That's Hadrian's Wall. Hadrian's Wall is, except in Ganshun Clever, it happens towards the end of the game. In Hadrian's Wall, from your very first turn, you start off with a little pile of resources, and you're like, just one more thing, just one more thing. Okay, just one more thing. Oh wait, look, I get that. Okay, now I can do this, now I can do that. And somehow you got a lot done, a lot more done than you thought you would. And that feeling only escalates each round because you're also building up production, which means you're getting one card here every round, you're getting one card here, but assuming you're building up your production at all, which that's the part where I think is more essential, arguably, the part I think you have to have some form of production. It doesn't have to be the full tracks, but I think you have to have a little something coming in every round, and then again, that will just continue that escalation of just getting a little bit more done, checking a little bit more off. This entire side of the board is an entire way to earn points as you're trading your yellow citizens to these citizen tracks in order to get more boosts, more rewards as you move to these tracks, then start unlocking buildings, choosing the buildings you're going for. In general, I would say you want to focus on 2 to 3 buildings. You can't do it all. Even 3 might be pushing it. 2 is where you can start getting a lot done, or you can possibly try evenly distributing a little bit to a smaller degree. There's so many different pathways here, and all of them are based around just giving you stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, the one thing that I would say that I think one of the biggest differences I played between the two games is that the first game, one of the cards I got gave me like a lot of stuff in the beginning versus only getting one thing here, and I think that did make a very big difference in my first turn.
Yeah.
So just having a card in the beginning that gave me more stuff to start with, because it just let me, like, I wouldn't mind like at round 5 or 6 getting one black eye. Versus in the first round, I would love to have had an extra yellow and purple.
More yellows and purples.
Well, if I had an extra purple, that's like a whole nother...
It potentially is. It can add up.
It adds up, so...
Yeah, one thing we haven't heavily talked about is to advance in some of these sections, almost everything has certain requirements. So to advance past these lines here, you need to be building out your granaries. To advance past these little chain things over here, you need to be building out more things. To build these buildings, you need to be unlocking various tracks on the citizens. Everything has different requirements you're trying to be mindful of, and I have no idea when I will feel like I've gotten this game, which to me is a huge plus. I like you said already, I love roll and writes. I really enjoy them. But to me, a big part of roll and writes that I like is I like having a lot of roll and writes because they tend to be a little on the simpler side, which means to me the variability is I'll dive into a different one today. I'll play that one again. I'll play Railroad Ink again. I'll play Welcome to again. But to a certain extent, I feel like most of the roll and writes in our collection, I've gotten the general strategy. This one, I'm like, I'm just going to play and hope I score points.
It's really good to know that you feel like you've gotten the strategy for Railroad Ink.
The general strategy, the general concept. I mean, it's like the thing that you're trying to do every single game in Railroad Ink is the same. You slightly variation as far as how the dice roll or how things play out. But this game, like I still have no idea what a viable path is or what the optimal path is, and I like that sense of adventure that the game gives you.
Yeah.
As far as what you don't like.
I don't like the getting the cards in the beginning. I wish there was one that you specifically started with.
So you can choose a card, so to speak?
Yeah, like you would start from these 2 cards so that you have, like when I look through the rest of these, like there's a lot that gives you more than one thing versus
just
one thing. So I would love to say like, okay, when you first start, don't start with either of these 2 and always start with something that at least gives you 2 items.
All right. For me, there's only really one thing, and it goes almost to that sense, the exact opposite of what I just said. The sense of exploration the game gives you, I love. The one thing I don't love necessarily is the idea that certain things feel like they kind of have to be done. Now, it's too early to say if I'm right. I don't know. But like going back to my point I said earlier, I kind of feel like production has to be done. And even though I want to explore not defending the wall at all, as of right now, I kind of feel like some degree of the wall has to be done. Maybe I don't have to go as heavily into it. Maybe I could rely on the diplomats or the disdain to deal with some of it, but some of it has to be done. So that aspect of... What? Yeah, it's called... That's a good point. It is called Hadrian's Wall. You probably should build a wall.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. But that idea that this game is so wide in the exploration of things that can happen, that having some degree of it, maybe 40-50% of it, is like going to follow a certain road path as you check off the same box every single game, and the other 50% is the room to explore. It's a minor nitpick. This game gives me the greatest freedom from any roll and write, flip and write that I've played to date, but that would be the closest thing I have to a complaint against where it is. As far as what can you see others not liking?
It's really big.
It is really big. It is. It has a lot of table space, especially with more players, yeah.
It's a lot of table space. It's just, like, it's a big game. Like, when we played it, like, we were playing with 4 people. Like, it was pretty...
Intense?
It was tight. It
took a lot. Because each player is playing with this entire area here, and you need room to just play things out. Yeah, for me, I have a few things. First of all, there's a complete lack of interaction. Like I said already, you have this card that you can buy things from the other players, and they'll get the resources you spend. Fine. There's no interaction in this game. You have to be okay with playing multiplayer solitaire, which arguably is why it's rated best solo, but to me, I still like that point comparison at the end. I like comparing scores, see which player did it best with their engine. You also have to be willing to just jump in. Like I said already, you're going to do better at this game. Well, not necessarily do better. You'll have an easier time getting this game tabled if you just start playing without understanding what you're doing or why. It can be a bit intimidating, and that first round might be like, oh, what am I doing? But by the end of that first round, by the end of the second round, you'll have players getting that little rush of, I do one more thing, I get one more thing. Lastly, I'll say that there is some luck around the Picts attacking. You can sit there and build up an even defense and have the Picts attack all from the left. You can build up on the left a little higher because it seems like the right move, and suddenly the Picts are attacking all from the right. So there is some degree of luck as far as the valor you'll get from defending against the Picts and the disdain you'll get from letting things through just by sheer luck of how the cards came out. Which on its own is not necessarily a big deal, but if you built to the left and I built to the right, and it just happens to be that the Picts attacked one way or the other...
Or the middle.
Or the middle. Packs, well, that would be even. Then we both get hurt. But yeah, so there is some small degree of luck around that aspect, around the final score related to the potential luck there. As far as final thoughts and score.
I really liked it.
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely want to play again.
Oh, and scoring we now do 0.5s, by the way. So you could do 0.5s.
Uh-huh.
Things have changed since we were last in a full review.
I don't remember the last time I did a full review.
Usually we do gameplay and reviews I do myself, but she really... Spoiler. She really liked this game,
like this game.
So she wanted to join for the review.
I really, really like this game. I think I almost have... I don't remember how many roll and rates I played by now. A lot.
A lot.
I really, really, really like this game. I don't know. I'll give it like a 4.5. Like...
Ooh, fun.
Only just like that little ding just because like of how much table space it takes up.
Yeah, for me...
I really like it. I would play this all the time.
Yeah, well, we have to actually play it all the time. But in any case, I'm right there with you. For me, it's a 4.5. It's a 4.5 for me. I love the game. It is incredibly meaty. It has that rush of... again, Ganz Schön Clever was my favorite... I think it was my favorite roll. Neither that or Fleet have been my favorite roll nights because of the sense of escalation you get as you do one thing and get another. And this game just takes that sense of escalation. They're like, hey, people seem to like that thing. What if we just multiply it by 100 and give you a game around it? And that's what it is. It's just this wide sense of exploration. I'm curious to just continue to dive in, to get a feeling for it. I'm curious to see how it would be expanded, if at all, and how you could potentially, like, does it have to be a whole different module? Do you just give people more interaction, more stuff to do? I really, really enjoy everything that Hadrian's Wall is doing. Primarily that sense of check one thing off, get another thing, rinse and repeat until you eventually slowly run out of resources, go to the next round, and start again. Easy 4.5 for me. I don't have a specific reason why it's lower. It's still a roll and write. It still follows a little bit of a pre-scripted pathway, less of, and possibly the lower interaction. The lower player interaction might have this down to 0.5 point, which is not a lot. Easily Hadrian's Wall is my favorite roll and write to date. As far as other game recommendations, I'll say Ganshun Clever. If you're looking for something that gives you the same general sense but a lot less intimidating, Ganshun Clever is going to give you the same idea of this game, but just much, much smaller in the terms of the complexity. But if you like that little pinging feeling of just I do this to do that to do this, then Hadrian's Wall will be a great step up from there. And if you're looking for another complex roll and write or flip and write or whatever, then Roman Roll from David Tursi is going to be not necessarily as dopamine hit as all this one is, but another complicated roll and write game. And that's basically our review of Hadrian's Wall. Yeah. I usually say, hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board & Co. and have a good one, something like that. But you're here. That. You're here. Like, I'm thrown off by like.
I could duck under the table.
No, that would be weird. That'd be awkward.
All right.
Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board & Co.
Hi, I'm Rena.
And have a good one.